They never tell you about Route 22 when you're training. No one ever brings it up at the yard or over coffee at the truck stop. It's not listed on any warning bulletin or in the CB chatter. And yet, every so often, you'll hear a whisper, barely a sentence, slip between conversations like a sliver of broken glass tucked into a slice of pie. I was running solo that week, hauling a shipment of machinery from Pittsburgh to Charleston. My dispatcher, Eddie, a guy who's been in the game way too long and seen way too much, gave me the route over the phone instead of the usual app. His voice sounded off, a little strained. Route 22, straight through. You'll hit it just after Weirton. Stick to the mile markers and don't veer off. Should be an easy ride. He paused. There was a silence too long to be accidental. Oh, and there are rules. I'll text them. Follow them. Then he hung up. I remember staring at my phone, waiting. A few seconds later, the message came through. Just a simple list. 1, keep your headlights on low beam no matter what. 2, do not stop for anyone, not even police. 3, mile marker 46, close your vents. 4, mile marker 53, do not look in your mirrors. 5, if you hear tapping on your window, ignore it. 6, whatever you do, don't drive past 3:33 a.m. I laughed at first. It felt like a joke. Some weird trucker hazing ritual, maybe. But something about Eddie's voice stuck with me. He wasn't the kind of guy who joked, ever. I left around 10:45 p.m. Weather was calm, no clouds, no wind, just me and the hum of the engine as I hit the I-70. I tuned into an AM station for company, some preacher talking about revelations and the end of days. I switched it off quickly. Silence was better. By the time I rolled into Weirton and saw the signs for Route 22, I felt a heaviness in my gut, like something wasn't quite right. The kind of feeling you get before a storm hits or when you walk into a room and everyone goes quiet. Route 22 didn't look like much. Just a narrow, winding stretch of road cutting through thick woods, no streetlights, no signs, just asphalt and shadows. I turned onto it without thinking too hard. It was just another run, I told myself. Another lonely drive through the night. I'd done hundreds. About 10 miles in, things started getting strange. The forest on both sides of the road didn't look right. The trees were too tall, their branches twisting like gnarled fingers. There was no wildlife, no crickets, no owls, just silence, thick and oppressive. Then I saw the first mile marker, 36. Nothing happened. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. A few minutes later, I saw someone standing on the side of the road. A woman. She had long black hair that covered her face, wearing what looked like a white hospital gown. Barefoot. Her arms dangled at her sides, unmoving. She didn't flag me down or step into the road. She just stood there. I didn't slow down. I remembered rule number 2. Don't stop for anyone, not even police. My heart was hammering in my chest as I passed her. I tried to tell myself it was a hallucination. Truckers see things, long hours, bad lighting, too much caffeine. But when I checked the side mirror, she was gone. Not walking away, not still standing there. Gone. I flicked the switch and turned my headlights to low beam, just in case I'd forgotten. Rule number 1, low beams only. I tried to stay calm. I kept both hands on the wheel and stared straight ahead. Mile marker 42 came up next. The trees here leaned in closer to the road. I had to resist the urge to speed up. Then I saw lights ahead, flashing blue and red. A police cruiser sat parked on the shoulder, half blocking the road. A state trooper stood in front of it, holding up one hand. I slowed down, heart pounding. Everything in me screamed that I should stop. But then I remembered the list. Rule number 2, do not stop for anyone, not even police. I gripped the wheel tighter and kept going. As I got closer, the trooper stepped into the lane, directly in my path. His face was pale and his eyes were hollow, like they didn't belong in a human skull. I swerved around him. Just barely. He didn't shout or move, just watched me pass. When I looked in the mirror, he was gone too. The cruiser was gone. No flashing lights, no trace, just the empty road and trees. I was sweating now. My mouth was dry. I reached for my thermos, hands trembling slightly, and took a long sip of lukewarm coffee. It didn't help. Mile marker 46 appeared. Close your vents. I reached up and slid them all shut, every one of them, even the floor level ones. Not 10 seconds later, a smell crept into the cab. It was like something dead had been rotting in a hot basement, sour, wet, putrid. I gagged and slapped a hand over my mouth, trying not to breathe through my nose. Something scratched along the passenger side door. Then I heard breathing, not mine, deep, slow, labored breaths, like something massive and hungry was crouched just outside the door. I didn't look, didn't speak, just drove. The smell disappeared as suddenly as it came. So did the sounds. I didn't open the vents. Mile marker 49 passed in silence, then 50. At 53, I gritted my teeth. Rule number 4, do not look in your mirrors. Easy enough, I thought. But then the whispers started. They came from the back of the cab, from the sleeper berth. At first it sounded like the wind, but then the words became clearer. My name, repeated over and over. Jason. My breath hitched. I gripped the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Jason, why didn't you stop? I kept my eyes forward. I didn't speak. Then something moved in the corner of my eye, a flash of white, like fabric. I resisted the urge to glance at the side mirror. Help me. It was her, the woman from earlier. I knew it. The whispers grew louder, angry, desperate. The sound of fingernails dragging across metal echoed in the cab. Then silence. I passed mile marker 55. The feeling lifted. I let out a shaky breath. My digital clock read 2:44 a.m. Still safe? For now I thought about pulling over, just for a minute, maybe to splash water on my face or check my tires. But I knew better. I knew the rules, and there was one more. Rule number 6, whatever you do, don't drive past 3:33 a.m. So I kept going, hoping I'd be off this cursed stretch before the time hit. The road began to curve sharply, snaking through the hills. My headlights barely cut through the dense fog that had started to rise. I checked the time again, 2:56 a.m. Then the tapping started. At first, it was faint, like rain on the windshield, but there was no rain. It grew louder, sharper, like fingernails. Tap! It moved along the window, up to the driver's side, then to the passenger side. Something wanted in. I stared ahead, refusing to look. My skin crawled. Every hair on my arm stood on end. The tapping turned into knocking. 3 slow knocks. Then a voice, sweet, almost melodic. Jason, you forgot me. I bit my tongue hard enough to draw blood. I didn't respond. 3:11 a.m. The road ahead bent sharply, and for a second I thought I saw lights. A truck stop maybe? A safe place? But as I got closer, I saw it wasn't a stop. It was a house. A small wooden house, sitting right beside the road, where no house should be. Warm light poured from its windows. An old man stood on the porch holding a lantern. He waved at me, beckoned. I didn't stop. Mile marker 60 passed in a blur. 3:20 a.m., 13 minutes left. The tapping stopped. The fog began to clear. But something told me it wasn't over. Not yet. When you're on the road long enough, time does strange things. Sometimes hours pass in seconds. Other times a single minute stretches out forever. From the moment I passed that old house until my dash clock ticked to 3:21 a.m., each second felt like a drop of water falling on hot iron, sharp, slow, and endless. The tapping had stopped, but I didn't trust the silence. I'd heard enough of it tonight to know that silence didn't mean safety. It meant something was waiting, watching. I gripped the wheel harder and kept my eyes forward. My hands ached from how long I'd been holding them in place. I wanted to blink, to stretch, to shake off the cold sweat crawling down my spine, but I didn't dare take my eyes off the road. Up ahead, the trees had changed again. They weren't just tall now. They were wrong. Twisted, not from wind or time, but from something deeper. Some of them looked bent backwards, their trunks arching as if they'd turned to watch me. Their branches clawed toward the road, gnarled and sharp. I checked the clock. 3:23 a.m., 10 minutes to go. The fog was thinning, but the sky above me had turned an unnatural shade. Not quite black, not quite gray, just empty. No stars, no clouds, like I was driving under a dome. Then I heard it. Laughter. Soft, high-pitched, and not coming from any human throat. Children, maybe, but not the kind you'd want to meet in a dark hallway. It started in the distance and slowly got louder, like a crowd gathering outside the truck. I tried not to look at the edges of the road. I didn't want to see what was making that sound. But then they ran into the road. At least 6 of them. Small, pale figures with bloated heads and limbs too long for their bodies. They didn't move like children. They didn't even move like people. Their arms flailed like wet rope as they darted into my path. I didn't slow down. I couldn't. I hit them. Or I should have. I felt nothing. No thuds, no bumps. Just a cold wave that passed through the cab like a gust of winter air. Then something giggled from the passenger seat. I looked reflex stupid, and for a split second I saw one of them sitting there. Its eyes were two empty holes, its mouth stretched impossibly wide, full of black broken teeth. It grinned at me. Then it was gone. I didn't scream, I couldn't. My throat was locked tight. I just kept driving. Mile marker 61 passed, then 62. I didn't remember seeing 61 before. I thought it ended at 60. The road had changed. Somehow, it was longer now. I checked the time. 3:27 a.m. 6 minutes. My body felt like it had been wrung out and left to dry. Every joint ached. My vision blurred slightly, but I kept blinking, trying to stay sharp. Then the truck shook violently. Not like a pothole, not like a gust of wind, like something had grabbed the trailer from behind and was pulling. The engine roared as I fought to keep it steady. My speed dropped from 60 to 50, then 45. I slammed the gas. The RPMs climbed, the engine screamed, but the truck didn't speed up. Then I heard the chains. Metal links scraping along the asphalt. Something was dragging behind me. In the side mirror, even though I knew not to look, I saw shadows, huge ones, shapes that didn't match anything I recognized. Some hunched, some slithering, all of them moving faster than they should, and they were getting closer. I tore my eyes away and gritted my teeth. Come on. 5 more minutes. Suddenly, a loud metallic bang rang through the cab. Something had climbed on. I felt the weight shift. The truck dipped slightly on the left side. Then came the sound of footsteps on the roof. Slow, deliberate, heavy. I reached for the glove box. There was a revolver in there. Not for things like this, just in case of hijackers or desperate strangers. But right now, it was the only thing between me and whatever was crawling across my roof. As my fingers brushed the handle, a voice whispered in my ear, not from outside, from the passenger seat. Don't. It was a man's voice, calm, deep, cold. I didn't look. I kept both hands on the wheel, though one of them trembled uncontrollably now. I could help you, the voice said. You're almost out of time. Would you like help? I bit my cheek to stop myself from replying. He laughed, not loud, not angry, just amused. Smart boy, he said. Then he was gone, just like that. The weight lifted from the roof, the air lightened. 3:30 a.m., 3 minutes left. I felt the truck lurch forward suddenly, like something had let go of it. The speedometer jumped back to 65. I was moving fast again, too fast on this narrow road, but I didn't dare slow down. Then the world outside changed. The trees disappeared. The road widened, turning into a smooth 2-lane highway. Bright lights lined both sides, blinking softly. It looked normal, too normal. There were signs now, bright, colorful signs. Welcome to Asheville, one said. Hot coffee, gas, friendly folks. A diner appeared on the right, chrome and red neon like something out of the 1950s. A gas station across the road, a motel, all freshly painted, all glowing. I slowed down, confused. The truck purred underneath me like nothing had happened, like the last hour had been a dream. But I looked at the clock, 3:31 a.m. 2 minutes left, and then I saw the people, lining the sidewalks. Hundreds of them, shoulder to shoulder, not moving, not blinking, all staring at me as I passed. Their faces were blank, not neutral, blank, no features, just smooth skin where eyes, nose, and mouth should be. They didn't move. Not until I reached the center of town, then they all raised their arms together and pointed, straight ahead. I followed their gaze. Up ahead, just past the motel, the road ended, literally ended, like someone had taken scissors and snipped it clean. Beyond it, nothing, not a valley, not a wall, just blackness, a void. My foot hit the brake, hard. The truck screeched to a halt, skidding slightly. I looked around, frantic. There had to be a way out. To my right, a narrow service road, no sign, no lights, but it led back into the woods. I didn't think. I turned the wheel and gunned it. The tires squealed as I veered onto the path. Behind me, I heard the sound of hundreds of feet sprinting. They were coming. I didn't look, I just drove. The path was narrow, barely wide enough for the truck. Branches scraped the sides like claws. I fought the wheel to stay centered. Then I saw it, a tunnel. Crumbling stone, ancient looking. It didn't look safe, but I had seconds left. I didn't slow down. The cab hit the tunnel entrance with a thud and everything went black. When the truck slammed into the tunnel, the lights died instantly. Not just the headlights. The entire electrical system flatlined. The dash went black. The engine shut off. Even my phone, plugged into the charger, flickered and died. I was left coasting through pitch black nothingness, inside a stone throat that had swallowed me whole. The sound of rubber on rough concrete echoed too loudly. I could hear every vibration, every grain of gravel beneath the tires. It was like the tunnel was alive, listening. The darkness was absolute. It wasn't just the absence of light, it was something deeper. It pressed against my skin, crawled into my ears, filled my lungs. My instincts screamed at me to stop, but I knew better. Stopping meant staying. Staying meant dying, or worse. So I kept my hands on the wheel, even though I couldn't see it. I eased my foot onto the gas, praying the engine would catch, but it didn't. The truck rolled forward at idle speed, the tunnel stretching endlessly ahead. My only guide was the faint slope of the road and the constant scratching of the tires against old stone. Then I heard footsteps. They echoed through the tunnel, slow and deliberate, not far behind me. Heavy boots, one after another, getting closer. I checked the rearview mirror out of reflex, but there was nothing there. Just darkness, thick, unbroken. The footsteps didn't rush. They didn't run. They just kept a steady rhythm, as if they knew there was no need to hurry. I wanted to reach for the door, to jump out and run, but where? Into what? Then, from the far end of the tunnel, a small flicker of light. A pinprick, barely visible. But it grew steadily as I moved toward it. I focused on that light, tuned out the footsteps, tuned out my own heartbeat hammering in my throat. The light got bigger, brighter. I could make out the curve of the tunnel's exit now. Trees beyond, open sky. I was almost there. Then something tapped on the back window of the cab, soft, polite. I froze, my breath caught in my chest. Another tap. I didn't move, didn't turn. I gripped the wheel like it was the only thing anchoring me to reality. A third tap, then a whisper. You forgot to look. It sounded like a child, and it was right beside my ear. I swerved hard, reflexively. The truck veered, tires screeching against the narrow tunnel walls. The rear trailer scraped stone. Metal screamed behind me. I fought the wheel, brought it back to center. The tunnel exit was only a few yards away. I didn't stop. I didn't breathe. The moment the tires hit dirt outside, the engine roared back to life like nothing had happened. The dash lit up. The phone buzzed. Everything came back. I slammed the pedal and tore out of the tunnel, fishtailing into a clearing surrounded by pines. Behind me, the tunnel entrance was gone. Not closed, gone, like it had never been there. The road ahead was gravel, unmarked, no signposts, but it was real, solid. I drove. For a long time, I just drove. I didn't check the clock. I didn't ask questions. I followed the path through the trees, trusting that anywhere was better than where I'd just come from. Eventually, I saw a sign. Route 22, re-entry point 3 miles. That didn't make sense. Re-entry? I wasn't off the road. I slowed down, confused, trying to make sense of it. That's when the CB radio crackled. I hadn't touched it in months. It was usually just noise now. Most drivers didn't use them anymore. But this voice came through clear as glass. Jason, if you're hearing this, you made it through the first leg. Don't get cocky. It was Eddie, my dispatcher. How the hell? I grabbed the mic. Eddie, what the hell is going on? Where am I? The radio went dead. I tried to call him. No signal, of course. I passed another sign, identical to the first. Route 22, re-entry point 2 miles. The forest started thinning again. The path widened, and then like nothing had happened, I was back on pavement, back on Route 22. Except it was different. The lines were faded. The trees were taller. The air thicker. There were no mile markers now, but I was moving. The clock read 3:45 a.m. I had made it past 3:33. I should have felt safe. I didn't. After a few minutes, headlights appeared in my mirrors. Another vehicle. First, I thought it was a regular truck, maybe another driver who'd taken the same hellish route. But the lights didn't look right. They were blue. Not flashing. Just glowing. And they were catching up, fast. I eased the truck up to 70, then 80. The lights kept gaining. Then I saw it. Not a vehicle. Not really. It looked like a truck. Old, rusted, covered in chains and scorch marks. But it wasn't on the road. It was floating just above it, and behind the wheel was something. Its eyes glowed red behind a cracked windshield. Its face was wrapped in barbed wire. Its mouth opened and closed like it was laughing, though I couldn't hear a sound. I pushed the pedal down harder. The truck rattled, tires screaming. The thing behind me surged forward just a few car lengths back. Then it veered into the left lane. Coming up beside me. I looked. Big mistake. Its cab window was rolled down. Inside sat dozens of faces, stacked behind the wheel, jammed against the glass. moaning, weeping, mouths open in silent agony. And the driver, the real driver, turned his head. His eyes locked onto mine. I looked away, heart in my throat. Suddenly, the road shifted again. The asphalt vanished. I was no longer driving on pavement. It was salt now, thick, white, crusted salt, like a dried-out lake bed. The truck bounced, struggling for traction. The thing beside me kept pace. We were racing towards something on the horizon. A shape. A giant archway made of bone and rusted steel. I didn't want to know what was beyond it. Then the CB crackled again. One word, brake. I didn't question it. I hit the brakes with everything I had. The tires skidded. The whole rig shuddered. And I stopped, just feet from the archway. The other truck didn't. It shot past me, through the arch, and vanished into thin air. Not over the horizon. Not into darkness. Just gone, like it had never existed. The salt blew away like dust. I was back on Route 22. Mile marker 67 appeared on the right. Then 68. I was out. The road was normal again, but I didn't feel normal. Not even close. Something had changed. I could feel it. In my bones. In the way the shadows moved when I wasn't looking. I passed an old gas station and pulled in. I needed a break. Just 5 minutes. Just to breathe. The place looked abandoned. No lights. No sign of life. I stepped out of the cab and stretched. My knees cracked. My back ached. Then I looked at the window. There was a handprint on the glass, on the inside. Small, wet, still fresh. I didn't go inside the sleeper to check. I just got back behind the wheel, started the engine, and drove. I didn't sleep. After I left that gas station, I just kept driving. The road was quiet again. The stars had returned. The trees didn't leer at me, and the air no longer carried that electric tension. Yes, but I could feel something had changed. Something inside the truck wasn't right. It wasn't the engine. It wasn't the tires. It wasn't the rig itself. It was the weight. Any trucker will tell you, after a few years on the road, you get a sense for your load. Doesn't matter what the manifest says, you just know when something's heavier than it should be. My rig felt different, like I was hauling more than steel coils and scrap metal, like something else had come aboard back in that tunnel, or maybe before that. Maybe when I passed the house, or when the giggling things ran across the road. Whatever it was still with me. I glanced at the rearview mirror. Nothing there. No eyes in the dark. No silhouettes in the trailer. But that didn't mean it was empty. My original destination was a drop yard outside of Pittsburgh, but that didn't matter anymore. I had no plans to deliver this load. Not now. Not until I understood what the hell was happening. At 4:12 a.m., I finally pulled off into a diner I'd stopped at years ago, near a town called Irondale. One of those places that looks like it's been rusting since 1953, but somehow still serves the best coffee you've ever had. I parked the rig and sat in the cab for a moment, just breathing. The handprint on the window had faded, but the memory hadn't. I climbed down and made my way to the door. The bell above it jingled when I walked in. Same faded checkerboard floor, same greasy aroma. The same waitress stood behind the counter, Marge or Maggie or something like that. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Jason?" she asked. I blinked. "Yeah, how'd you?" She waved me over. I sat at the counter, trying to ignore how badly my hands were shaking. "I was told you might come through here," she said. "Hoped you wouldn't." "Who told you that?" I asked. She poured coffee without answering. I stared at the mug. Steam curled up in lazy spirals. I realized I was starving. "You're not the first driver who came off that road messed up," she said finally. "But you are the first one to come back with something still attached." I looked up sharply. "You know about Route 22? She chuckled dryly. "Everyone around here knows. That stretch of highway's older than the hills, and it's wrong. Always has been. Locals don't drive it after dark. Smart ones don't drive it at all." "But what is it?" I asked. "What's going on out there?" She leaned closer, voice low. "There are places the world forgets. Places that weren't meant to be stitched into our map. Maybe they were once gateways or prisons or holes in the skin of reality. Route 22 runs over one of those places. And at night it shifts." I said nothing, just drank the coffee. It tasted burnt and bitter, but it grounded me. "You've been marked," she said. "I can see it in your eyes." I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. Not after everything I'd seen. Not after what I felt in the trailer. "I need to check the back," I said finally. She nodded. "Do it before sunrise." I left a tin on the counter and stepped outside. The sky was starting to lighten. A dull orange glow crept over the horizon. Birds chirped in the trees. For a moment I wondered if I dreamed it all, if I was losing my mind. But then I heard it, shuffling, low rhythmic thuds coming from inside the trailer. I unlocked the doors and grabbed the crowbar from my side compartment. My hands were slick with sweat. I peeled the seal off and opened the latch. The trailer doors creaked open slowly. I raised the crowbar, but inside there was nothing. No movement, no shadows, no monsters, just the shipment. Rows of steel coils strapped in place. I lowered the bar, heart pounding. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe my nerves were shot. Then I noticed something. In the far left corner, one of the coils had rusted. Not the normal kind of rust. Not orange flakes. This was black and wet looking, like tar had seeped out of the steel. And beside it on the floor was a smear, a black handprint, small, the same size as the one on my window. I shut the doors and locked them again. I didn't know what I was hauling. But it wasn't just metal anymore. I climbed back into the cab and checked my phone. One bar, just enough to load a message. There was a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. I hit play. At first, just static. Then a voice. Not Eddie, not anyone I knew, just a whisper. You didn't follow all the rules. You let it see you. That was it. No timestamp, no location. I deleted it. Pointless. But it confirmed what I already knew. Whatever I'd seen wasn't done with me yet. I hit the road again. At 5:30 a.m., I crossed the state line into Pennsylvania. The landscape looked familiar again. Hills, fog, silence. But Route 22 didn't let go. My GPS rerouted me 3 times, all of them leading back to side roads. Everyone labeled Old Route 22. I ignored them. Just before 6 a.m., the truck's dash lights flickered. Then the radio clicked on by itself. A voice came through. Not a whisper, not static. It was my voice, repeating the same phrase. Don't stop at the lights. Don't stop at the lights. Don't stop at the... I shut it off. Enough. At 6:12 a.m., I rolled into a way station. I needed witnesses. Other drivers, people. The lot was empty. No cars, no trucks, no attendants. I parked anyway and stepped out. Wind brushed through the trees. The flag flapped overhead, and then I noticed the sign on the door. We see you now. Spray painted in red. Fresh. I backed away slowly, climbed into the truck, locked the doors, checked the mirror again. This time I saw it, just for a second. A shape in the sleeper berth. Hunched. Breathing. But when I turned, nothing. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. But here's the worst part. The fuel gauge hasn't moved since I left the tunnel. No matter how far I drive, the tank stays full. The engine doesn't overheat. The tires don't wear. The truck keeps going. And the odometer, it's rolling backwards. Every mile I drive, I'm losing ground. And I don't know what happens when it hits 0, but I've got a feeling that's when the real ride begins. The next stretch of road felt like a dream on repeat. The white lines blurred together. The trees lining the highway stood still like statues. And my body moved on instinct. Hands gripping the wheel, eyes glued to the fading horizon. But my thoughts were somewhere else. On the handprint in the trailer, on the rusted coil, on the fact that the fuel never dropped. I kept checking the odometer. It was now at 0087.9. The numbers ticked down slowly like some silent countdown I couldn't stop. At 0086.6, the CB crackled again. A deep, gravelly voice came through. You're further than most, driver. It wasn't Eddie. Who is this? I asked. A pause. Then, you've seen the signs. You've heard the footsteps. That means you're being tested. Tested for what? For the right to keep driving. Static cut in. Then the voice returned, lower this time. Next mile marker. Pull over. I'll be there. I considered ignoring him, but I needed answers. At mile marker 74, I saw a clearing just off the shoulder, a dirt pull-off surrounded by mossy trees and hanging fog, the kind of place you'd never notice unless you were looking for it. I slowed and turned the wheel. The truck creaked as it rolled to a stop. There was a man already waiting. He sat on a wooden crate beside a rusted-out pickup. His hair was gray, his beard long, and his clothes were so faded they looked part of the forest. But his eyes were alert, sharp, like they'd seen too much. He didn't smile when I approached, just looked me up and down. You're late, he said. I didn't know I had an appointment. He grunted. Nobody does, but everyone gets one. He held out a tin mug. Drink? I shook my head. I'm good. Suit yourself. He sipped. The steam from his drink curled unnaturally, like it was twisting in reverse, drawing downward instead of rising. "You're hauling more than metal," he said. "I know." He looked at me with something like pity. "You picked something up, or maybe it picked you. Either way, it's in your cab now." "What does it want?" "Same thing they all want, to finish the route." I blinked. "The thing in my truck? What? It's a hitchhiker?" "Of a kind." He leaned back. "You've already seen it, haven't you? The handprint, the voice on the CB, the wrong roads pulling you back in." I nodded. He looked past me toward my rig. "They come from places deeper than this road. Route 22 just happens to be the access ramp." I swallowed. "How do I get rid of it?" He smiled for the first time. "No one gets rid of them. You either pass the tests or you become part of the road." I felt cold. "You said others came through here," I said. "Anyone make it out?" His face changed. More serious now. "3. Out of how many?" He didn't answer. "Okay, fine. Then what do I do? You said I'm being tested. What's the next rule?" His eyes focused on mine. "Don't exit the truck between mile 75 and mile 80. "Why?" "You won't like what gets in." I tried to laugh, but the sound came out dry. "Why does this feel like a game?" He shook his head. "It's not a game, it's a purge." Then he stood, dusted off his jacket, and walked toward the forest. "Wait," I said. "That's it?" He turned back. "You want more answers, you'll find them at the overlook, past mile 81. Just don't stop for anyone who waves you down. Not until then." Then he was gone. I stood there, staring after him, unsure whether to believe a word he said. But deep down, I already did. Back in the cab, I started the engine. The odometer ticked down again, 00851. I pulled back onto the highway and passed mile 75. I didn't stop. I didn't speak. I didn't blink for too long. The first thing I noticed was the fog. It rolled in thick and yellow, like old smoke from an engine fire. It clung to the windshield, made the headlights useless. I had to drop to 30 just to see 5 feet ahead. The second thing I noticed was the shadows. They danced along the tree line, slender, shifting, figures. I kept driving. Then, at mile 76, something knocked on the passenger side window, loud. 4 slow raps. I didn't look. I remembered the rule. Don't exit the truck between mile 75 and 80, and now I knew why. The knock came again, slower this time, more deliberate. Then the handle jiggled. I locked it. My heart hammered. The CB radio came to life again. This time, static slowly formed into a voice. My mother's voice. Soft. Sweet. "Jason, pull over, honey. You forgot me." I choked on my own breath. She died in 2018. Stroke. Quick. I'd watched her body lower into the ground. But her voice kept going. "I'm cold, baby. You left me out here." I gritted my teeth. Eyes on the road. Mile 77. She sobbed through the speaker. "You were supposed to pick me up. You promised? Don't you love me anymore?" I turned the radio off. I didn't speak. The fog thickened until the lines on the road vanished. I turned on the hazards. Figures began appearing in the mist now. People, or what looked like people, lining the shoulders of the road, standing still, not waving, not moving, just watching. At mile 78, a little girl appeared in the middle of the road. I swerved. She didn't move, just stood there. Mouth open wide like she was screaming, but I heard nothing. I didn't stop. In the mirror, she was gone. At mile 79, the temperature dropped. My breath fogged the inside of the windshield. Then I saw him. The man from the clearing. Standing by the road, arm raised, waving, slowly, deliberately. No mistaking it. I hit the brakes, then remembered the rule. Don't stop for anyone waving you down. Not until the overlook. I hit the gas again, faster this time. The truck groaned. The engine whined. The man vanished behind me. When I hit mile 80, the fog lifted instantly, just like that. Clear skies, birds chirping, blue morning light bleeding over the trees. It felt like coming out of anesthesia. I exhaled for the first time in 10 minutes. Then I noticed the fuel gauge, still full. And the odometer, 0079, still dropping. And worse, my GPS showed my location as simply unknown road, time remaining, no ETA, no destination. I drove on. At mile 81, the road opened to a wide ledge, the overlook, a scenic stop with crumbling stone benches and an old pay telescope facing a valley of thick pine trees and mountains. The sun hung just above the horizon, frozen like someone had hit pause. I pulled over, got out, and waited. And then she stepped out of the forest, tall, pale, wearing a torn vest and jeans. Her eyes were hollow but familiar, because I'd seen her once years ago, in a newspaper article about a missing trucker. Her name was Darlene Shaw. She'd vanished on Route 22 in 1999. Jason, she said calmly, you've still got a chance. She walked slowly toward the cab. But once it's in your name, it never really leaves. I backed away. What is it? Her mouth twitched. It's the fare. What fare? She pointed at my trailer. What you owe. And if you deliver it, you get to leave. But if you peek, if you touch it, if you speak to it. She shook her head. You become the next fare. I felt sick. Where do I deliver it? She smiled. Sadly, you'll know. Then she was gone, vanished like fog at sunrise, and the sun finally moved again. The sun moved again, just slightly, like the sky had released a breath it had been holding all night. I stood alone on the overlook, the wind tugging at my jacket, silence pressing in from every direction. Darlene Shaw was gone. Her footprints were already fading in the dirt. But her words lingered. You become the next fare. Back in the truck, I sat behind the wheel and stared at the road ahead. The trailer creaked behind me, and for a moment, I felt it shift. Not just the weight, something inside. Something pacing. I checked the odometer again. 0076, still dropping. That meant I hadn't passed the test yet. The road wasn't done with me. I turned the key. The engine roared to life with a sound that was no longer mechanical. It was hungry. Like the truck itself wanted to keep moving. So I did. I drove. The sky stayed locked in that dull, never quite morning gray. The trees leaned toward the road now, as if they were eavesdropping. The asphalt looked freshly laid, too smooth, too perfect, like a carpet rolled out just for me. At mile 83, I saw a burning sign on the right shoulder. It read, "No rules beyond this point." I should have felt relief, but I didn't. No rules meant no protection. I passed it anyway. At mile 84, the CB radio came on again. This time it was my voice. Jason, this is the last stretch. No turning around, no braking, no sleeping, no stopping, eyes forward. I gripped the wheel tighter. Then the whispers started again. Not over the radio, from the sleeper berth, closer than ever. I didn't look. Not this time. Instead, I reached into the glove box and pulled out the old laminated sheet Eddie had given me. The original rules. The ink had changed. It now read, "Thank you for your service. Final delivery ahead. One way only. Prepare your fare." I crumpled it up and tossed it aside. At mile 85, I passed a row of abandoned vehicles. Big rigs, sedans, even a hearse. All of them empty. All of them with the doors flung open, some still idling, others rusted into the ground, as if their drivers had simply stepped out mid-trip and vanished into the trees. Somehow, I knew that's exactly what happened. The odometer ticked again. 0.9, and that's when the trailer door slammed. I heard it clear as day. Bang! Something inside was getting impatient. Something wanted out. I didn't stop. Didn't check, just kept moving. Mile 86 arrived with a sudden jolt, as if the truck crossed some unseen line. The sky flickered. For a heartbeat, the world inverted. Trees turned black, sky bled red, and the road cracked beneath me. Then it all snapped back into place. But now, there were people on the road, not moving, not alive, lined up like mannequins, burned, twisted, some wearing old uniforms, some with no faces at all. I drove through them. They didn't flinch. But as I passed each one, the trailer grew heavier, like the fare was collecting something from every soul I passed. Memories, regrets, pieces. By mile 87, the truck's lights started to flicker. A red message flashed on the dash. Payment due. I ignored it, kept my hands on the wheel, eyes forward. Then finally I saw the end. A massive archway of twisted steel and bone rising over the road like a grotesque gate. No signs, no lights, just a narrow tunnel beyond it that pulsed with an amber glow like the inside of a living creature. The final mile. I drove through the arch. The truck groaned. The wheels shook. The cab trembled like it might rip in half. But I didn't stop. Couldn't. And then, like snapping a rubber band, everything went still. I coasted to a stop in a circular clearing. No fog, no sky, just silence. The trailer door clicked open on its own. I climbed out. For the first time, I approached the back. I don't know why. Maybe because I knew this was it. The final delivery. Whatever I had picked up on Route 22, it wanted out, and it was time to pay. I opened the doors. Inside was darkness, not the kind cast by shadows or poor lighting, the kind of darkness that feeds, that watches, that waits. Then it moved. Something slithered forward. Tall, thin, wrapped in the shape of a man, but wrong, all wrong. Its face shifted like melted wax. Its eyes looked like mine, then like my mother's, then like Darlene's, then no face at all. It stepped out of the trailer and stood beside me. I didn't move. It pointed at the ground in front of the truck. A glowing circle of ash had formed, a pit, a mouth, or maybe both. The thing walked to the edge. Then it turned and looked at me. It didn't speak, but I understood. This wasn't just about delivery. This was about replacement, about completing the chain. If I walked away now, the thing would go free. It would ride with someone else, haunt another route, trap another driver. But if I took its place, if I stepped into the trailer, the chain might end. I stood there a long time, wind howling, the ash blowing in slow, deliberate spirals. Then the thing tilted its head. One final time, it showed me my own face, and it smiled. I nodded once, then stepped back and shut the trailer doors. The lock clicked, the truck's lights dimmed, the engine turned off, and the odometer stopped. That was 2 days ago, or maybe 2 decades. Time works differently here, but the rig's not empty anymore. It's moving again. Different driver. Young guy, sharp eyes, new badge clipped to his chest. I watch him from the sleeper. He hasn't seen me yet, but he will, soon. And when he does, he'll learn the rules. Because Route 22 never ends. It just shifts, like a mouth waiting for the next fare.